Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel GMB Today. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The Menace was back in the studio on Monday as Mark Labette took on a team of 4 hopefuls in a bid to win a cash prize on the ITV quiz show. But Darragh was not impressed. Darragh Ennis didn't hold back with his feedback as a team was brutally being on the chase. In the episode that aired on Monday, March 17th, contestants Mark, Susie, Tracy, and Aaron tackled a round of challenging questions aiming to outwit the Menace and secure the cash prize. Impressively, they all reached the final chase, presenting Darragh with the daunting task of facing off against a complete lineup. Despite acknowledging them as a great group, Darragh didn't shy away from telling the quartet they ought to be very disappointed unless they managed at least an 18-point finish in the final round. When the showdown came, the team's ability to answer accurately wasn't the issue. It was their leisurely pace that left them hanging with a final score of just 16. Darragh called them, "You didn't get any wrong, but you didn't get through enough questions. You probably could have got through 5 more questions there if you'd sped up a bit, which would have made this a really tough game for me," he added, reports the Express. He conceded, still a good target though. However, with 33 seconds to spare, Darragh effortlessly caught up to their total, leaving the contestants to ruefully watch their 16,300-pound prize slip away. Following the showdown, Darragh delivered a curt verdict on the team's shortcomings. He said, "You did everything right on your side up until the very end. You needed to speed up a bit in the final." Darragh had some kind words for the team's efforts at building up the pot and making savvy decisions during the head-to-head phase, but he wasn't shy to criticize their sluggish pace in the final chase. He said, "You were just a little bit slow. An extra 3 or 4 on there, I might start making some mistakes, but it just wasn't a high enough target." The game got off to a flying start with Mark, a 43-year-old civil servant from Edinburgh, nabbing a pool £6,000 in his cash builder round. He decided to stick with the initial offer and smoothly cruised into the final chase without hitting any bumps. Susie, a 37-year-old photographer from Hemel Hempstead, answered 3 questions in her cash builder. Listening to her teammates, she settled for a modest £300 offer. It was touch and go after a 1-question shootout, but Susie was overjoyed to make it through to the final chase along with Mark. Next to try their luck against Darragh was Tracy, a 55-year-old environmental health officer from Sutton Coldfield, who chipped in another £4,000 to the kitty. Lastly, Aaron, 28, an account manager from London, answered 6 correct answers in his cash builder. He too outpaced Darragh and boosted the team's total winnings to £16,300. However, despite their valiant effort, the game did not end on a high note, as they ultimately left with nothing. The studio lights burned brighter than ever as Bradley Walsh announced the beginning of the final chase. The 3 remaining contestants, Sophie, a primary school teacher, Martin, a retired firefighter, and Jade, a university student with nerves of steel, had battled their way through the earlier rounds with grit and clever answers. Collectively, they had built a prize pot of $30,000. But standing in their way was Darragh Ennis, better known to viewers as the Menace. With his trademark calm expression and razor-sharp recall, Darragh had earned a reputation for being one of the most dangerous chasers to face. Yet, as the final round began, it was the team who looked unstoppable. In just 2 minutes, the trio managed to rack up 21 steps, a score many fans at home would call respectable, even potentially winning. Bradley grinned in disbelief. "That," he declared, slapping his cue card against his palm, "is a fantastic score. Darragh, are you nervous?" Darragh offered the faintest smirk. "I've seen worse, but I've also beaten better." The clock started and Darragh launched into action. His answers flowed with precision, his mind a machine working at frightening speed. Within seconds, he cut the lead down. "Which Shakespeare play features the character Prospero?" asked Bradley. "The Tempest," replied Darragh without pause. But then, hesitation. What's the capital of Kazakhstan? The studio erupted as Sophie buzzed in with a perfect pushback. Astana. The crowd cheered, and Bradley nearly jumped out of his chair. That's the way to do it, he shouted as the team pushed Darragh back a step. For the next minute, the tension was unbearable. The contestants clawed back with 2 more successful pushbacks, keeping their $30,000 dream alive. Jade clenched her fists, Martin leaned forward, and Sophie mouthed silent prayers. With seconds left, the team was still ahead. Then came the moment that silenced the room. "What is the world's longest river?" Bradley asked. "Nile," said Darragh instantly. "Correct." "What type of creature is a coelacanth?" "Fish." "Correct again." The clock ticked down. 5 seconds. 4, 3. Darragh nailed the final answer on the buzzer. The board lit up red. He had caught them. The contestants collapsed into their chairs, faces etched with disbelief. They had been so close. Bradley, ever the showman, turned to Darragh. "The Menace strikes again. What a chase!" "But, Darragh, I've got to ask, what did you make of that team's performance?" For a moment, Darragh was silent, scanning the devastated faces of the players opposite him. Finally, he leaned forward, his verdict cutting sharper than the defeat itself. He said, "They were good," he said flatly, "but good isn't enough. This game isn't about almost winning, it's about finishing the job. 21 is solid, but against me, you need perfect." They had the knowledge, they even had the pushbacks, but when it mattered most, they cracked. The audience let out a collective gasp at the bluntness of his assessment. Martin looked down, lips pressed tightly, while Sophie forced a brave smile. Jade shook her head, whispering, "So close." Bradley, sensing the tension, tried to lighten the mood. "Well, there you have it. Clinical, cold, and correct. Darragh, you've lived up to your nickname. But, team, you were sensational. You gave us a thrilling final, and for a moment there, I thought you had him." As the credits began to roll, social media lit up with reactions. Viewers flooded Twitter, many praising the team's courage, others taking issue with Darragh's ruthless verdict. One fan wrote, "Darragh is savage, but he's right. The chase is brutal." Another added, "That team deserved better. They were robbed at the last second." But perhaps the most telling comment came from a longtime viewer. "That's why we watch the chase, because until the very last second, you never know who's going to win." And on that night, the Menace had once again proven why he is one of the most feared chasers in ITV.